Welcome back, everyone. This is Zephyr Chung with Iris Diecast, and today I'm going to review this Hyundai Tucson by CM. It is another diecast model by an unknown Chinese diecast company, which is why I labeled it as CM. So these things are not very common. They go for around 160,000 Korean won, which is around 154 or 5 US dollars. But I was able to pick it up for roughly I was able to pick up a roughly cared one from a non-collector for around $3. This is the first generation Hyundai Tucson. The name Tucson comes from a North American city, just like many other Hyundai SUVs from that era, like the Veracruz and the Santa Fe. It's a compact sport utility vehicle built to compete with cars like the Honda CR-V and the Toyota RAV4. So we're going to be taking a look at all the detail and features this model has to offer us, and then we'll give it a score. Here is the front of the car. It looks a lot like the first generation Hyundai Santa Fe, which was released a few years earlier. It emphasizes curvy lines and yet still have a partially muscular look to it. Like some of the other Korean models that we reviewed, the headlamp quality is very nice. The dark background for the headlamps are done cleanly and clearly, and the details on the bulbs match those of a higher end models. The grills are something I am really satisfied with this model. I usually mention that cheaper cars have blocked grills, and you might have wondered what I wanted then. This is a perfect example. The grills are completely open and you can see through it just like you'd be able to in an actual car. Um, the Hyundai logo is not finished perfectly, but the fact that the grill, including the small ones down here, here, and here, are completely open is more than enough to make up for it. Surprisingly, the gray two-tone body here is not plastic. It's full die-cast metal like the other parts, with just a gray paint job over it. Now, this car came with a 2-liter diesel or a 2.7 gasoline V6 used on the Azera TG. This model comes with the 2.7-liter Delta V6 for export market cars. The engine room detail is really good. It looks much like the real car, although the yellow paint here um, is a bit smeared and finished badly. The model uses hinges for the hoods instead of a gas lift like some of the more expensive models. Let's move on to the side of the car. The car comes with plastic parts for the side indicators right here, and it comes with fixed plastic windows that stops the dust from getting in. It also uses separate chrome parts for the door handles over here. The rims are done beautifully with great detail on the slight lines here and the wheel bolts, and we have disc brakes inside there. We even have some detail on the tire, and while I dislike the tire decals on the newer Tucson, it's really great looking on this model, and I mean, this is the kind of tire detail that I want to see on diecast model cars. This car does come with opening 4 doors, and luckily we have a wide opening door angle for all of the doors. The interior is overall done very nicely, and I especially love the detail on the center, and it's even finished nicely, unlike some of the Chinese models that we saw earlier. Um, there's no smear paint here and there. It's finished very nicely. The steering wheel looks a little bit cheap, but I'm pretty sure that's the same for a real car because Hyundai's in early mid 2000s were not as good as the cars that we see today. And of course, this car does come with carpet on the floor, another pretty sweet feature. The seats look a little bit cheap, and it's not exactly as nice as some of the other models we reviewed, But we do have the folding rear seat feature for the rear passenger seats, which is a pretty unique feature. You don't see that a lot, even on some of the more expensive diecast cars. The rear of the car is not as nice as the front, especially the rear lamps. It's not finished very nicely, and it looks a little bit messy. Other than that, the car is fine with the expression of heated rear windows here. It's got pretty cool and cleanly done dual mufflers, and it's got all the badges too. There isn't all that much to see inside the trunk. We have carpet for the cargo space up here, and we do have the opening flap for the spare tire down there, which is a pretty cool feature. The trunk, like the newer Tucson that we reviewed earlier, uses gas lifts for the opening part, which is pretty unique and pretty nice since they didn't use the cheaper hinge type. The top of the car does have a sunroof, although it's not functional and it's not clear, so you can't actually see um, inside the car, which is slightly weird. So here is the undercarriage of the car. And one thing that I didn't mention earlier about this model is that it is extremely heavy. It weighs a ton and it's probably one of the heaviest models that I've ever seen. And I guess the reason for that is because the base of the car is metal instead of plastic, like most of the model cars. The undercarriage is really, really well detailed. It is one of the best I have seen so far. And oddly though, um, it has springs on the tire there. Let me get a better view of it. It has springs on the tire there. You can get a slight glimpse over there, but it doesn't have a working suspension feature, uh, which is a little bit unfortunate. So that's it, my review on the Hyundai Tucson by CM models. And now it's time to give a score. So detail receives a whopping 7 out of 10. It has well-crafted interior and excellent front and engine bay detail. The undercarriage detail is one of the best I've ever seen so far. Rear detail seems slightly worse than the other parts. The car receives a 5 out of 5 in terms of quirks. In addition to fully opening trunk, hood, and doors, this car also comes with the spare tire compartment and folding rear seats, which is a really nice feature. The build quality gets 6 out of 10. It is extremely well finished for a Chinese model, although some of the interior plastic models, some of the plastic interior parts like the steering wheel or the seats look a little bit cheaper. Value gets 7 out of 10 as it is the only first generation Tucson model you can buy, and there are not too many of these for sale. Price gets a 2 out of 5. While this is a very well crafted and quirky and unique model, there is so much you can get for $150 here in Korea. You can get a used Outdoor Maybach, basically any Outdoor models that are not signatures. So it's hard to give it a high price score. So that brings up the total score to 27 out of 40 points. Um, uh, as we go on, as we go on and do more reviews, I'll use the same point system um, to evaluate these models, and we'll get to compare these cars. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, click like and hit subscribe. If you didn't, give me a thumbs down. Um, Tell me what I should work on. I'm always trying to improve. So anyway, thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys later then.